Sprinkle this once, and worms will flood your raised bed like magic. What if there was a way to turn hard, lifeless soil into a rich, living ecosystem bursting with worms, without hauling endless bags of compost or bending over with heavy tools? Gardeners spend years trying to build fertile soil, but many overlook one simple trick that can tip the balance almost instantly. With just a light sprinkle of the right mineral, your raised bed can go from struggling to thriving as worms flood in to do the heavy lifting for you. This is not a gimmick. It's a time-tested practice backed by modern soil science, and it may be the smartest gardening move you make this year. Worms are more than just garden dwellers. They are nature's original soil builders. Every tunnel they dig opens pathways that allow roots to breathe, rainwater to soak in, and nutrients to circulate freely. Their castings are packed with nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and beneficial microbes in a form plants can absorb immediately. Simply put, worm activity can turn compacted dirt into fertile sponge-like soil that practically takes care of itself. For gardeners, especially seniors who want to spend more time enjoying their plants than labouring in the garden, worms are the perfect partners. They loosen compacted soil so you don't have to. They mix organic matter deep below the surface, and they fertilise continuously without you lifting a finger. Once they move in, your workload shrinks dramatically while your plants begin to thrive. Compost is often praised as the gold standard of soil health, and it is indeed a wonderful addition to any garden. It recycles organic matter, introduces beneficial microbes, and feeds plants naturally. But here's the catch. Compost alone does not always attract large numbers of worms. Sometimes compost is too fresh, too acidic, or simply inconsistent in texture and nutrients. Worms may visit to feed, but without the balance of minerals they crave, they rarely stay and multiply. That's why so many gardeners notice only a modest worm population even after years of composting. Compost feeds plants, but it does not provide the specific grit-pH balance and trace elements worms rely on for long-term survival. Something more is needed to create a worm-friendly environment. The missing link is minerals. Specifically, finely ground agricultural lime or rock dust, such as basalt or dolomite. When sprinkled over your soil, these powders neutralize acidity, balance pH, and release a wide range of essential trace minerals. More importantly, they trigger an explosion of microbial life in the soil. Worms rush in not just for the minerals themselves, but for the feast of bacteria and fungi that thrives after application. Think of it as setting a grand banquet underground. Within days, worms begin to tunnel in greater numbers. Within weeks, the transformation is unmistakable. Soil feels looser, plants look healthier, and worm castings appear like little black pellets of gold across the surface. To apply this method correctly, you'll want to start with a raised bed that already contains organic matter, whether that's compost mulch or even decaying plant residues. Then take 1 to 2 cups of finely ground agricultural lime or rock dust for every square metre of soil. Sprinkle it evenly across the surface in a thin layer, rather like dusting powdered sugar over a cake. Next, you'll need to water the bed thoroughly. Use 1 gallon of water per square foot of soil to help the minerals wash into the top 4 inches of soil, where worms are most active. Once the bed is watered, cover the surface with a light mulch, perhaps straw, shredded leaves, or garden trimmings. This helps to protect moisture, shields the soil from the sun, and provides an ongoing food source for worms once they arrive. That's it. No digging, no back-breaking labour, no repeated hauling. Within days, you'll start to notice worm tunnels, and within weeks, the soil will feel like it has come alive. If lime or basalt dust isn't available, there are several other safe and effective options. Crushed eggshells, when dried and ground into powder, provide a steady source of calcium and act as grit for worm digestion. Wood ash, applied sparingly, helps neutralize acidic soil while supplying potassium. Oyster shell flour, often sold in farm stores, works similarly to lime, and mineral blends such as glacial rock dust or azomite provide an even broader spectrum of nutrients. The best part is that these materials are lightweight, easy to apply, and often inexpensive, or even free. They require no special tools and can be applied in minutes, making them especially friendly for gardeners who want simple, practical solutions. The speed at which worms respond to this method can feel almost magical, but the explanation is straightforward. Worms lack teeth and use tiny particles of grit in their gizzards to break down food. By sprinkling fine minerals onto the soil, you're giving them exactly what they need to process organic matter faster. In addition, worms are highly sensitive to soil pH. If the soil is too acidic or too alkaline, they leave. A light sprinkle of lime or rock dust brings the soil closer to neutral, creating the comfortable zone worms prefer. The combination of digestive grit, microbial food sources, and balanced soil chemistry explains why worm activity can increase so dramatically in such a short time. Unlike fertilizers that need constant reapplication, this method requires very little maintenance. For most raised beds, a single sprinkle in early spring is enough to set the tone for the entire growing season. If your soil is naturally very acidic or heavy, rains wash nutrients away. A second light sprinkle in midsummer can help restore balance. The key is moderation. Too much lime can swing the soil too far toward alkalinity, which worms dislike just as much as acidity. Keeping applications light, 1 to 2 cups per square metre once or twice a year, provides stability without creating extremes. Stability, after all, is what worms and plants both need to thrive. While attracting worms is the immediate reward, the long-term benefits extend much further. Worm tunnels improve drainage during heavy rains while also storing moisture during dry spells, reducing how often you need to water. Their castings act as a continuous supply of natural fertilizer, rich in the very nutrients plants need most. Even more remarkable is how worms help nutrients stick around. As they process organic matter, they coat soil particles with a sticky substance that prevents minerals from leaching away. The result is soil that holds on to fertility while still remaining loose and airy. Plants respond by growing sturdier, producing bigger harvests and showing greater resistance to pests and disease. Once you've set this system in motion, gardening becomes simpler and, honestly, more joyful. In early spring, just sprinkle your minerals, water deeply, and cover everything with mulch. After that, your main task is simply to keep the soil moist when rain is, a bit scarce. By midsummer, you'll notice the soil has transformed beneath your hands. It feels spongy, plants are stronger, and worms are, visibly active. This is gardening the way it was meant to be, not endless labour but a gentle partnership with nature. By letting worms take over the hardest jobs underground, you free yourself to enjoy the beauty above ground. Building rich, fertile soil does not have to take years of hauling compost or buying expensive fertilizers. Sometimes all it takes is one light sprinkle of minerals, lime rock dust, crushed eggshells, or even wood ash, to tip the balance. Worms flood in, multiply, and transform your soil from the inside out. They loosen clay, enrich sand, and leave behind castings more nourishing than anything you could buy in a bag. This is not just a gardening trick, it's an invitation to work smarter, not harder. to let the smallest of creatures carry the heaviest load, to embrace a method that gives back more than it takes. If you found this guide helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Timeless Crops Haven and share it with a fellow gardener. Together, let's keep learning the timeless secrets of soil, plants, and the quiet magic of nature's smallest workers.